things are changing. We had a lot of elections here, and now we've got some people that lost, some people that won. So it's important, if we're going to have a viable lobby for the Albanian people, to meet the new people that are getting elected, and we met some of them, and to see what people we can rely on for the important decisions we have to make for Albanians in Kosovo and in Macedonia and in Albania. And now we've got a couple of strong people in Long Island. We have Congressman Lee Zeldin in Suffolk County, a Republican. He was a former Marine, a good friend of mine. We started supporting him 6 years ago. Now we have a Democrat, Tom Suozzi. I got to know him. So we got to see now how we put together a group of people on both sides of the aisle, and then we have to have senators as well. And it's going to take us some time to see how we can educate those who are not as informed as they should be on this. In the meantime, I went to see some of my friends that are connected with the State Department, because at some point I would like to have a meeting with Mr. Pompeo. He's very busy now, as you know, with things in North Korea and the elections in general. But I have some contacts also with Mr. Trump. So it's important now to see how we can get to the highest levels in the State Department to educate them about what's really going on, especially in Macedonia, because we still see the issue of Russia looming, trying to get a foothold in Macedonia. And now you have also the problem of Turkey and Qatar, and who knows, maybe even Saudi Arabia, with money coming in to some of these parties in Macedonia, and we don't want that, because we don't want people to see Albanians as tied to a religion. Albanians have always been Albanian first, and they've been tolerant. We saw what happened in the synagogue in Pittsburgh. We put out a beautiful notice on that to say how terrible this is, that somebody could come into a synagogue and shoot 11 people. And they should look at the Albanian experience of tolerance, where Orthodox Christians and Roman Catholics and people of the Islamic faith and even Jews lived together for centuries. And even today, if you look at the Albanians in Kosovo and in Macedonia, they live with each other. There may be a few exceptions, and some even intermarry. Even when the Pope went to Albania, he said he couldn't believe that he found this bubble of tolerance where the people seem to live together no matter what religions or faith they have. So we have to promote that. A lobby is not only good to promote issues of importance to the people in a particular country, but we have to publicize, or we have to boost the image of the Albanian people as tolerant, as people who like democracy, and as people who want to bring peace and stability to the Balkans. Right now in Macedonia, I don't see peace and stability coming. Why? Because there's tension between the Albanian people and the Slavic people. We thought with Gruevski out, things would be much better. Now we find out that Gruevski ran to Hungary. He's supposed to go to jail, for a couple of years. He should have gone to jail, I believe, for a lot longer, because they didn't really go to trial with all the crimes, but they don't even have him for 2 years. He ran off to Hungary to get asylum. What kind of example is this for the people in Macedonia? And when you think about it, where are the parties? Why don't they get together, the Albanian parties? You have, let's say, 800,000 Albanians, but you have at least 6 parties. Why so many parties for so few people? And now we see that there's a division because, we're getting the message that 2 of the parties want to come here. We did a lot for, as you know, now it's called the Alliance, or the New Alliance, for Ziadin Sela. We had, in 3 of the last years, 1 hearing every year. And on one of them, we even put the pictures of Ziadin Sela, who a lot of people trust as someone who can maybe bring Albanians together, because they tried to kill him when he went into the parliament. So if he comes here, we want to be sure he is meeting the right people. But we have people trying to bring him here, and with another party called Besa, and now Besa is 2 parties, no longer just 1. And I don't know what they're doing here. They should have called me to say, how could we meet the best people, the highest people? Why is that important? Well, you could see the problems that Paul Manafort had. They found out he was representing people in the Ukraine. Where is he today? He's in jail because the laws of the United States say that if you represent a foreign government or a foreign party or even a foreign elected official and you bring them here, that means you have registered as a foreign agent with the Justice Department of the United States. That's not a lobby, that's a foreign agent. We have never done that because we don't represent foreigners. We don't represent the governments of Albania or Kosovo or Macedonia or any of their parties. We represent the people. That's what our lobby stands for. Who are the Albanian people? Why are they important for peace and stability in Europe? This is what we've been talking about for over 25 years. This is what we have to talk about today. But now we're hearing that there's some issue that the United States State Department is telling Albanians, you know, the name change is important. And now there's an agreement with Greece and the Slavic parties in Macedonia for a name. Northern Macedonia is what they want to call what was called before Fyrom. Now, Albanians should have been involved in this debate before, and we tried to get them in. They weren't. Now they want to get involved with it, but the so-called train may have left the station on that. But if we agree to the name change without asking for what is rightfully the Albanian people's position, which is that Albanians are equal to the Slavs in Macedonia. They are part of that state that was formed. And the Constitution, when it was done in 1992, should have said that the Slavic people, the Albanian people, are state-forming constituents, and there are other groups as well. But the two biggest are the Slavs and the Albanians. And if you take out the Turks and the Egyptians and the others, you probably have equal number of Slavs and equal number of Albanians. So why not call this a state that is made up of these two nations? This idea now that I'm hearing that there's a 20% solution is ridiculous. Why should Albanians agree to be called part of a 20% group or be called the 20% part of Macedonia? Without Albanians, Macedonia could be bankrupt today. You know how much money has come in from Albanian Americans and from Albanians from Macedonia that live in Germany? I was there. Most of the restaurants that I saw in Berlin are owned by Albanians from Macedonia. They're sending a lot of money back to their families. And they're building houses there. So without that money, I don't think this would have been a state that would have been viable. And besides which, you had this craziness going on that the Macedonian Slavs wanted to create a connection to history. So they rebuilt Skopje with all these monuments to talk about Alexander the Great, who was at least half Albanian, but there's no mention. Then Mother Teresa's house, used to be in Albania in 1910. Now it's part of Macedonia, and they want to claim that she is theirs. This is wrong. This is not going to create the peace that we want in Macedonia. We have to respect the fact that the Slavs and the Macedonians are equal in creating the state. And the language rights are important. What happened to the Tirana platform, the Albanian platform? The number one thing on the list was that the language had to be adopted as a national language, just like the Slavic language. The Albanians speak Slavic. Why shouldn't the Slavs learn Albanian as well and live together? That's what Europe's all about, to come together, to be unified, democratic, and whole. And in Macedonia, they should be setting that example. So our league now is trying to see how we can educate the new leaders of the State Department, how we can get access to Mr. Trump in the White House so that he knows who the Albanian people are and why they are so pro-American, so pro-democratic, and will not ever agree that Russia is a partner with them in anything. Nor should they agree that Turkey, Qatar, or Saudi Arabia should be involved with them, because all they want to do, those countries, is to use money to buy influence, and how they do it is they use the religious card. They want to build mosques, and they want to be sure they bring in their people to teach their form of Islam. No, the Albanian form of Islam is the best. It's tolerant. I met like the Bateshi group, some of the most tolerant Muslims you can find anywhere when I first went to Albania. And you could call them whatever you want, but these are people who are Muslim by faith, but they're Albanian first. And that's the important difference between the Albanian people and others, especially those who think they can define themselves by some religion. So our lobby now, and by the way, we are now the only registered lobby for the Albanian people in Washington, and that means that we can go around the country and lobby who we want and talk about what is needed. And we now have to be sure that our lobby stays strong. And I've made calls to the people who are our best supporters and told them we have new congressmen coming in. That means we got to support them. We have to set up meetings. We have to explain who the Albanian people are and why they should be trusted, because the only friends of the Albanian people are the Americans. Woodrow Wilson saved the state of Albania. In 1919, it was almost put all into Yugoslavia. And then we had George W. Bush, who was the one who took the 1 million signatures, Nishkrimi, from us that we got in Kosovo, and then he declared that the United States was the first to support the independence of Kosovo. Now, right now we got, as far as I'm concerned, independence in name only because we don't have an economy yet. We have young Albanians looking for opportunity, leaving to go to Europe to get jobs. This is wrong. And if they want to go someplace, they still don't have the liberalization of the visas, which should have been done a long time ago. So if they want to go to Turkey, that's easy, but they can't go west to the UK or to Germany or to France, where they can get some real jobs. So there's still a lot that has to be done. So I would tell the Albanian people, trust Joe DioGuardi. I started this as a congressman. Don't forget, my father was an Albanian. He came here from an Albanian village called Greci, Katundi Greci, Baba I Mabresh. And I was raised respecting the fact that I had not only Italian blood on my mother's side, she's from Bari, but on my father's side, that he was born in Italy, but he kept this culture alive for more than 500 years. And don't forget, it was the Albanians in Italy that saved the language when the Turks occupied Albania in 1488 after the siege of Skodra, Rethymia Skodris, because they were betrayed by the Venetians, for money obviously, and the Albanians kept the language alive in the Italian peninsula, and even fought with Garibaldi, one of the first prime ministers of Italy when it was formed in 1861. A few years later was Giuseppe Crespi. I believe his last name was, Crespi. And he was a prime minister of the whole country of Italy. So there's a lot of respect between the Italians and the Albanians. And today, if you go to Katundi Greci, one of the 51 Albanian-speaking villages, they teach the Albanian language in the grammar school to the 8th grade. And who pays for it? Italy. You can't get this in Preševa today. The Serbs don't allow you to even bring the books unless it's a Serbian book that translates into Albanian, because they want to control the information and the history. So we got a lot to do yet. And don't forget our Jewish friends. They love us because we discovered on my trip with Congressman Lantos, when I went to see Ramiz Aliyah, after we went from Pristina, we drove across the border. We were the first ones in 50 years to go across that border. We told Mr. Milosevic at the Grand Hotel, he was, thousands of people came, we're watching everything you're doing. And then we went across to tell Ramiz Aliyah, hey, the Berlin Wall came down. When are you going to bring democracy here to Albania? And it happened. 2 years later, we had the elections. So look at all we have done for the Albanian people. I say this because they should trust me. I don't get paid to do what I'm doing. I love the fact that I have Albanian blood and Italian blood, and that I'm an American. My parents came here with no education, and I am the oldest from that family, and I did very well as an accountant, 22 years, the world's largest accounting firm, and I left it at the age of 43 to do something important with my life, to run for Congress. Everybody said, you're crazy, you're not a politician, you can't get elected. Well, I got elected, and at least I kept it for 4 years until they changed the district on me. But I never forgot the Albanian people in the late 80s. We had the first hearing in 1986. That was Chairman Dante Fasel. And the second hearing came in 1987 when Ben Gilman arranged for it. And then we kept going with all the important chairmen. We had Ben Gilman, Henry Hyde, Tom Lantos, and what did we do? Always made sure that the right story came to tell who the Albanians really were as the most pro-American, pro-democratic force in Europe, and that they love America and they want to be like America in terms of its democracy, and they want a better economy. It's not there. So we have a lot of work to do. Shumpun, and that's why I come to Washington at least once a month, every time I see an opportunity to talk to the right people so we can get more friends here in Washington. Why Washington? Because it's the most powerful place in the world for the Albanian people. And it's where the Albanians have gotten all their power, from Woodrow Wilson, from George W. Bush, and from all these great congressmen we had, starting with Congressman Dole and Senator Pell. Well, Senator Dole and then Senator Pell, and then we had Lantos, Hyde, Dante Fasel, Italian guy that I met early on in my career in Washington, and then we went further with many others. So that's why I'm here. Things are very complicated. I'm not happy with what I see. But if people want to come here to Washington or to the United States to make their case, they should be calling Joe DioGuardi. When they needed me, I did the hearings with the league. Shirley and I testified many, many times. But just in the last 3 years, we had a hearing every year for the people in Macedonia so that the Slavs knew that we had this connection. We don't want to lose that connection, and we don't want to confuse people. So if people there have 6 parties, and now 2 of them, I hear, want to come here to make their case, who are they going to meet? And be legal. You can't come here from a foreign country and meet with somebody in the State Department if you're not registered. That's what they call a foreign agent. Paul Manafort's in jail right now, Trump's original friend, because of that.